This web tutorial is going to be part one of the 5 things every teacher should know about using Google Forms. The first thing you're going to do is we're going to learn how to make a form to collect digital projects and how to organize that form so the information is useful and accessible for you. The first thing you're going to do is from your Google Drive is go ahead and click on the Create button. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a form. Now, a form is just like a survey. It's a way to collect information, and it automatically goes to a Google spreadsheet, which allows you to organize all of that data. I'm using my domain account. If you're using your personal account at gmail.com, you won't have these features at the top. If you're within a domain, for example, Pleasanton Unified School District, what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to require students to log into their account in order to access the form. It'll also automatically then collect, if we ask it to right here, the students' Gmail addresses. Collecting that information is always a great idea in case you ever needed to email students or run a script that requires a unique identifier such as their email address. The next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to title this form. This form is going to be called One Thing Every Teacher Should Know About Forms. Okay, you always want to title your form, otherwise you're going to end up with a lot of forms saying untitled forms, and it'll make things a little bit more difficult to find. Now, when we're starting with forms, there's a few questions that you always need to ask, especially when you're collecting digital projects. For secondary teachers, the first thing you should ask is what the period your students are in. So select period and just make this a checkbox question. Now down here we can select our different options. So the first one is going to be first period, second period, third period, and you can use the tab key to go between these lines. This is going to also be a required question. All students are going to need to respond to this question. This will allow me to organize this form by period. I also want to know alphabetically who my students are. So I'm going to have first name, and this will be a required question. Notice that it's a text question and not a checkbox question. The next question I'm going to ask is going to be last name. And whoops. This is going to also be a text question, and it will be a required question. The next thing we're going to ask for is we're going to ask, and this will be a text question as well, for the project URL link. Now you may want to also ask for a separate question that asks for the project title. Okay, but to simplify things right now, we're going to jump right to the URL link. This will be a text question, and this will be required. This is where people or students are going to put their web address for you to access. So I'm going to go ahead and hit done. Now there's a few kind of neat features within Forms, and we can change the theme, and there's a bunch of new themes that have just been kind of put into Forms. I'll go ahead and click on this beach one. Now what's going to happen is you're going to just make your form look a little bit more appealing to students. If you click on the View Live Form, this actually takes you to the live form where students will be able to complete their responses. And they would fill this out right here. They would go ahead, they would put in their period number, they would put in their first name Mr., their last name Padway, and we'll put in our URL link. We click on the project that we want. This is a presentation project that's in my Google Drive. The share settings have been opened so that the person I'm submitting this on their form to will be able to access this. You can change the share settings in here. Right now it's shared with anyone with a link. If this project was created with my Pleasanton Unified account, it would probably be best to share it with anybody within Pleasanton Unified. I paste that URL link right down here, and then all I have to do is submit. Now when I submit my form, it'll say your response has been recorded. This you can edit on your original form. Okay, now you'll notice here I have one response, so I'm going to select this View Responses tab. And what this is going to do now is this is going to take me to a spreadsheet that's been created. Now this spreadsheet has all the fields I asked for because I asked it to collect the username. I have the period, I have first name, last name, and the project link. Once I'm all done, I can simply just go through and I can click on these URL links and they'll take me directly into the projects. It's going to be fantastic to help with presentations. It's just going to take a second to load here. But you can see it working towards that URL, and there's the presentation. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to populate this form with some other data so I can show you best to organize. Notice how you have the timestamp and the date and time that the document was submitted, the username that we had asked for it to automatically collect. I have the period, I have the first name, last name, and then the project link. I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to paste in some other data that I have here to kind of populate these fields, and you'll see these are all other timestamps. The usernames are all unique to individual students right now, just numbers. I also have periods for almost everybody. We're missing a couple periods here, so I'm just going to put in some numbers for these individuals to have different periods. We have first name, we have last name, and we have all of their project URL links. Now, some of these project URLs, when it copied over, didn't come in as hyperlinks. We can change that by using a little Artifilm. Okay, so here I have all my usernames, my periods, and my links. Now, for me as a secondary teacher, this spreadsheet needs to be organized alphabetically, and it needs to be organized alphabetically by period. So the first thing I'm going to do, we're going to kind of work backwards here, is I'm going to go to the first name tab. That's the kind of the least important category that I need organized. And I'm going to click on the caret, and I'm going to sort this sheet A to Z. You'll see now everything here is listed alphabetically. Once that's done, if I go over to the next column, it says last name, and again click on the little caret and sort sheet A to Z. I once again will now have all the last names organized alphabetically. If anyone has the same last name, it'll also be organized alphabetically by first name. But this doesn't match up to any of the grade books or anything that I have as a secondary teacher. So the last thing I need to do is I need to organize this by period. So I go ahead, I click on the same thing, sort sheet A to Z. And now what I'll have is all of my first period students, I'll have them organized alphabetically by last name. When it's time to present these projects in class or for me to go through and look at them, it makes things very easy. All I have to do is go down this list and click on the project URL links. Assuming that the students have shared those addresses with me correctly, I should have no problem opening up any of these documents right here just by simply clicking on the link. This is great because not only can you collect things that have been done in Google Drive, but you can also collect anything that has a web URL address. So Animotos, Prezis, Toondoo Cartoons, anything that your students are creating online, as long as it exists somewhere in cyberspace on a website somewhere, you can collect that URL link right here. Forms are also fantastic for collecting student information at the beginning of the year, collecting homework assignments, or collecting any information in large quantities that you want to organize. Good luck, and check out part 2 of the 5 things every teacher should know about Google Forms. How to share your form. Have a great day.